population to participate fully in the economic sphere. BIMSTEC comprises of diverse nations, rich in culture, history and potential, with each member country bringing unique strengths to the table. However, one thing remains consistent across our borders: the untapped potential of women in driving economic growth, innovation and sustainable development. Empowering women economically is not just a matter of equality. It is a strategic necessity for fostering inclusive prosperity in the BIMSTEC region. When women thrive, entire communities flourish. By investing in women, we invest in the future of our economies. Moreover, the empowerment of women leads to better outcomes for families and future generations. Educated and economically empowered women are more likely to invest in their children's education and health, breaking the cycle of poverty and creating a virtuous cycle of growth that benefits society as a whole. The importance of collaboration among BIMSTEC countries cannot be overstated. By sharing best practices, fostering network opportunities, and supporting cross-border initiatives aimed at women's economic empowerment, we can create a synergistic effect that propels all. Initiatives such as skills training program, access to financing, and mentorship networks are powerful tools in this endeavor. Furthermore, we must address the systemic barriers that hinder a woman from reaching their full potential. The economic empowerment of women is not merely an option, it is an imperative for the BIMSTEC nations. As we venture into this new era of inclusivity and collaboration, let us pledge to elevate women's voices, capitalize on their talents, and create an environment where every woman has the opportunity to thrive. Let us be a testament to the opportunities that arise when we embrace cooperation. Bhutan's commitment to women empowerment. Bhutan's commitment to gender equality is reflected in its constitution, which mandates equal rights for women and men. In Bhutan, we recognize that the empowerment of women is not merely a goal, but a fundamental prerequisite for achieving our broader development objectives. One of the cornerstones of our strategy has been enhancing women's access to education. There is no overt gender discrimination in Bhutan. Driving innovation. Their resilience and ingenuity are inspiring, but they need more support to realize their full potential. Our journey, though challenging, has seen a significant stride of women's participation in areas such as education, healthcare, businesses, workforce, governance, as well as in politics. Women are moving beyond household chores and fieldwork and becoming main income earners in the family. However, there is still much to be done. I would like to reflect on Bhutan's guiding philosophy of gross national happiness, conceptualized by our fourth king, His Majesty Jimmy Singh Wangchuk, in the mid-70s. GNH, in short, prioritizes the well-being and happiness of our people over mere economic growth. This visionary approach has laid a strong foundation for promoting gender equality and empowering women in Bhutan.
This feeling manifests in two ways. One arises from internal perception that comes from education and family background and environment community, or it comes from external pressures and a sense of inequality. We need to get rid of that security. That's why we're here to talk about women empowerment and inclusive prosperity. Allow me to start with my own personal experience. My mother is my idol, and I want to be like her. Very great inspiration of me. My father died when I was very young, and my mom was a housewife, and my father, he was engaged in the construction business. My mother, a housewife, never been out of the house, but then suddenly my father died, and I was very young, the youngest in the family, with 4 siblings. My mom just took this job and continued working until this construction business finished. That shows that women are capable. Women possess survival instinct. Women possess survival stamina. So never forget that. We have that kind of power in us. And we need to get rid of that, sense in insecurity and inequality. So how we can do that? According to many studies like ADB study, IFC study, all the studies show that if we can narrow the gender gap, if we can close the gender gap, globally in BIMSTEC region, it could add billions of US dollars. $1 billion now as of 2024. In BIMSTEC, it's 1.78 billion. Almost half of the population are women in general. If a woman is given this economic power, she can contribute a lot to her family, to her community, and to the region, and to international as a whole, to the globe as a whole. So, the 2023 Moody's report said that closing the gender gap would give the global economy a 5% boost equal to US $7 trillion boost.
I'm not from the industry, I am not a businesswoman, but I'm on the other side. I actually work to support more young women become entrepreneurs, businesswomen, and become like the ladies who are sitting here with their amazing business. But a lot of us facing a mammoth task. It's interesting, I think everybody said a lot of data about why women's empowerment and equality in this sector is important, and there is no dearth of an economic case for that. McKinsey's own report says that if you actually make it equitable in the economic sector for women to participate, you're going to get about $28 trillion increase in the world GDP. For a country like India, that would amount to a 30% increase or 80% higher than what would be a normal predicted GDP for a 2025. So the case for an economic reason is there. The benefits are clear, as my previous speakers have spoken. However, it's not translating into what it should be. I'm looking at this room and I'm saying, it's a trade meeting, we have less than 20% women participation. What would it look like and what would it mean for us to then have maybe in the next and the next and the next meeting, this room filled with at least, if not 50, 30, 35% women who are stakeholders in industry, business and government in the economic sphere. When I go for a women's leadership meeting, the room is filled with 80% women. So it's almost like we are all working from our corners. We are not really integrating from our corners to the center to say where men and women can equitably come together to support one another. Despite the data making a point that women's equitable participation will enrich countries, enrich the globe, let me just even throw another piece of data. India is known as the startup capital of the world. We have multiple startups successful. Only 10% of those. It's also interesting to note that despite a very large agricultural population across South Asia, which is largely women-led, the counting of women in the agricultural workforce remains varied and very disproportionate. You tend to push them in the informal. So when women don't have a seat at the table, they don't have a voice at the table, therefore they don't have a say in the policy that is required for them to be counted equitably and where you are expected to make it possible for them. When we look at the BIMSTEC, and I think this is an important agenda that we are talking, and it's coming, at least in India, right after the commitments we all made at the G20 for women-led development, which is going to be critical for the next 50 years. That is, of course, if climate change doesn't kill us before that. Hoping not, well, at least for the next 50 to 100 years, I do think it is going to be imperative for governments and bodies like the BIMSTEC to really have a very strongly focused strategy which looks to bring in more women and men in an equitable, and I'm saying men, and I'm not saying just men of privilege, but I'm saying from an equity and inclusion perspective, the marginalizing women as a key player into the economic story that we are trying to build.